Hi everyone, Claire's just requested to join, so she should be here literally any minute. Hello!
Hello.
I think my camera's the wrong way around, I'm just going to turn it. Try it the other way because I go too close.
That's it. I was going to leave you hanging for about 10 minutes.
I thought you might. Right, so we've got quite a few people joined us already.
Yep, we have.
Should we sort of crack on?
Yep, let's go.
Right, so basically we're just going to start with some introductions. So I'm Emma Norman and I raise awareness for lichen sclerosis. I run the lichen sclerosis UK awareness pages and also run the lichen sclerosis vulvar cancer page with Claire. I'll just hand over to Claire. So I've been diagnosed with lichen sclerosis and I've been diagnosed for probably about 16 years now, although I was a child sufferer. Won't go too much into it because our stories are quite long. So I'll hand over to Claire now anyway, and she can introduce herself.
Hello everyone, yes, I'm Claire and I run the Vulvar Cancer UK awareness page, and obviously we both work together with the awareness and with the Facebook page. I was diagnosed with LS at 43 along with stage 3 vulvar cancer. I was misdiagnosed from the age of about 5 with LS. Both our stories are on our grids previously when we've talked to other people. Obviously it's the first time we've done one together, but not really about us today. So if you want to have a look on our grids to find out our stories and also our website as well. But we'll crack on with our campaign.
Yeah. So a few people saying hello there at the minute. Hi Marion, hi Jane, and quite a few others as well. Thank you for joining us. So basically we're just kind of going to start with why we started raising awareness. So for me personally, I know it was through running the group, the support group, and there was quite a few people that were sort of being misdiagnosed and trying to raise awareness. So we decided to set up the lichen sclerosis Facebook page. And I do vaguely remember Claire sort of bombarding me with links and stuff in the beginning, which is how then obviously I got Claire involved as well. And I was like, you know, just come and be admin, we'll just run the pages together. And then obviously from that as well, you know, there is obviously a lot of charities, skin charities and people as well who don't really do a lot for lichen sclerosis either, is there?
No, I think that's
So
why we joined together, wasn't it? Because there wasn't anything happening.
no, this is it. And I think initially, I think when I know from my personal point of view anyway, when I decided to set up the lichen sclerosis page, and obviously you were messaging me quite a lot at the time, weren't you, about vulvar cancer, and like, you know, you need to mention it because nothing ever really gets talked about with you know, regards to the vulvar cancer side of it. And actually, the more I looked into it, more listened to you, more realised, yeah, actually, it's true. Not only is lichen sclerosis unheard of, or you know, it's not really talked about, but you know, neither is vulvar cancer. So obviously from there, we then sort of set up obviously the Facebook page, and then also we went after, was it Twitter we went on to next?
Yeah.
I think it was, and then the Instagram as well. So also as well with the awareness side of it, obviously we realised a lot of the patients, or the members of our group, they were sort of being misdiagnosed, weren't they? They were given the wrong information as well, which is also a big problem.
Yeah, well for me it started because obviously I started the vulvar cancer group first because obviously I didn't hear of it. I'd been on the Macmillan forum, community forum, which was great at the time, but you can't really talk properly on there, not like a support group or messenger. So I started the private group really just to be for a few people. It wasn't meant to be a support group. It was just meant to be for an easy way for us to chat on a private closed group. And then I started to come across more people. I found the Eva pill, found people talking about vulvar cancer on there, so I invited them to the group. And then it sort of got bigger and bigger, and then we decided to open it up into a support group. And that's when I found the LS support groups. I was in quite a few at the time, and I think you and Carly started yours off of those, and I didn't really wasn't aware much of the UK side of it, and I just thought mostly it was American groups. And they were talking about things that I wasn't interested in, and it got quite argumentative in a lot of the groups, so I sort of stepped away from them a bit. And then obviously I was already in your group and started to spend more time in the UK group when you asked me to help admin, because it started to get obviously bigger, being over 4,000 in that group now. And then that's when we both sort of talked quite a bit on Messenger, didn't we? And we was very much had the same things in common, wanted to do the same things. I was still doing awareness already on Instagram and on Twitter, but only as myself. And I was pestering some of the cancer charities, skin groups, vulva pain charities, trying to get them to do more for lichen sclerosis and vulva cancer, because nothing was getting done. And that was when you said about starting your Facebook awareness page instead about me starting one. And I remember saying back then, I don't think I should start a separate one. I think we should do it together, because
Yeah.
you know, it would be easy if there was two of us, because obviously if one's not well or you know, depressed or having problems, the other one can take over. You know, we've got each other to pick each other up and like we two have a laugh. And also I've noticed as well that people don't really want to join a cancer group on Facebook or Instagram, because they're scared and don't want to see cancer talked about all the time. So I found it quite hard to get followers on Twitter and Instagram, because people don't want to see it and they are scared. So I knew that would happen. So that's why I said about us joining together on the Facebook page awareness, and we can do it together, and there's more chance of getting those with lichen sclerosis, you know, to be aware of vulva cancer. And it's proved it, because I do find it quite hard to get people to stay. A lot of people will unfollow. I did start about a year ago changing my grid a bit more, and I do a lot of positive things. I do a lot of jokes. I try and have a laugh as well on the Instagram page, not just make it all about obviously cancer, because it can get, you know, quite difficult, and I understand that. So being together, it just makes it a lot easier for both of us, and also it's helping the pages out as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because there's a lot of people out there that sort of go it alone and raise awareness on their own. And I think we're really lucky in the fact that actually we get on really well. And if one of us are having quite a low moment, which, you know, obviously raising awareness for these sorts of conditions and hearing, you know, people's stories when they're messaging us, it gets quite hard emotionally and, you know, mentally can get quite draining, can't it?
Can do,
Yeah, I think
members, haven't we, already on the vulva cancer side. Since I started the group, we've lost 11 members, and it gets quite difficult. So obviously I talk to quite a lot of them on Messenger one-to-one, and it's quite, you know, it's hard having somebody else. I think that's why a lot of pages, for cancer pages especially, they just close down and just stop doing anything, because it's difficult. So that's why, another reason why I thought it would be best if there's two of us doing it, because then obviously we can chat, you know, about us ourselves, our own problems, what we're going through. Because a lot of us, even in the support groups, we don't talk to family and friends about our conditions or what's going on or how worried or scared we are, because, you know, we don't want to worry them. And we know that they don't really understand, and you don't understand until you're diagnosed with any condition, unless you've got it yourself, which is why support groups are so good, because we get to talk to other people that have the same condition, whether you've got it mild or serious, you know, you've got someone to talk to, and it makes it a lot easier for the mental health side. And obviously having support groups as well, and the awareness, we can help with tips and advice, and let them know what's going on. Because a lot of the times, like we'll talk about later, is doctors aren't all saying the same thing. They're not giving the right advice. They're not telling, you know, how to use the creams, what to use it with, how often, how much. You're quite often given the cream and then just told to go, really. The guidelines are there. You know, I spent 2 years researching quite a lot, and I've found so many NHS leaflets that aren't being given out to patients. They're not checking the websites and looking. You know, Google is the worst thing to do when you've got a condition, but yeah, you have to, because doctors don't give you enough information. So that's why our site, and especially our support group, you know, I get a chance to find articles that are safer to read, and put more medical research, you know, proper doctors and specialists that you know, give us information that we use, so we know that it's up to date and the right information for them.
Yeah, exactly that, isn't it? Because, you know, to say from our point of view, running the support groups, the amount of times we'll see posts from members, and each one could be completely different with what advice they've been given from their consultant or their specialist. And I mean, this isn't a sort of knocking any specialists in the field. A lot of them do, you know, an amazing job, but they don't all sing from the same hymn sheet, so to speak. Which is where I think, you know, obviously there's quite a few other places around that like, you know, such as the British Association of Dermatologists, and you know, obviously they've got some really good leaflets about, haven't they? That we could get some quite good information from.
Yeah, but GPs don't always signpost patients to these, which can be
No,
quite frustrating.
yeah, this is it. I mean, I remember when I was diagnosed, I think I had a print off. There wasn't even a leaflet; it was just a print off a piece of paper. So, you know, this is, you know, this is for life. There's no cure. Kind of go get on with it, really. And as you say, well, even you know, using the steroid, they're just given the cream and not really told how to apply it or where to apply it, and it makes it really, really hard. So I think, you know, going back to the awareness, this is why it's so important that we do raise awareness, that we do speak to all the medical professionals, get the correct advice, and advise everybody exactly how the steroid should be used, where it should be used, and then obviously, you know, we can help people. I mean, it also helps people, I think, in the long run, you know, with a vulvar cancer diagnosis, in preventing it as well, which is so important. There's a lot of people who haven't even heard of lichen sclerosus until they've been diagnosed, is there, with vulvar
That's
cancer.
why we started our campaigns, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
why we started tonight's live really was because obviously our campaigns, which we started 3 years ago with Pelvic Raw. I was contacted by one of their members, and who lives near me, works near me, and you know, we talked about doing a campaign with us, which we started and called it Know Your Vulva campaign. They obviously teamed up with Silk, the lubricant company, and they produced vulva cancer leaflets and also mirrors to send out to all physios, which was great for the first year. And we continued on, haven't we, since the last 2 years, doing both vulva cancer, vaginal atrophy, with obviously the Jane from me and my menopausal vagina Instagram
Yeah.
page, and obviously lichen sclerosus we just finished. So, you know, because there is no awareness for them separately, there was none at the time. There's, you know, there's gynecological cancer charities, which we know don't really do enough. There's skin cancer charities, they don't do enough, especially for awareness. It sort of seems to be all about, you know, the more what they call common, even though most of us believe that LS is common, but they do eczema and psoriasis. They don't really touch on lichen sclerosus much. And you've got the pelvic pain groups, they concentrate more on other conditions for the vulva. So we started this, and this is obviously our 3rd year we've done. Got lots of great people coming on board with us, lots of companies which we use for our prizes, which none of them have come to us and said, here's a free product, can you promote it for us? That's not how it works. We've gone to them because, you know, it's products that we use ourselves, or that GPs prescribe, or that we see other members in our support group all recommend. So these, none of the products we're given and told to promote. It's things we found ourselves and use. Like most conditions, not everything will work for the same person. All our skin's different. You know, our LS is at different stages. So what might help somebody else won't the other person. So it's just really getting to know what works for you. But all the products that we've, you know, that we post on our Instagram or in the groups, you know, it's just things that we hear other people that they like. So we contacted them 3 years ago, some of them, Silk, for example, and yes, they've been on board from the start, and they always, every year, they come up and give us some products. You speak to them beforehand, and then we do the competitions. I spoke to Cheeky Panda, the toilet roll company, because we noticed that a lot of members in our support group were saying how good their toilet roll was for them. So I contacted them and asked them to, you know, if they would give us anything to help, and they did. The same as Emulsifying as well. They were recommended in our group, which I bought some myself and was really impressed with it. Again, we asked those, and they were brilliant, and they've helped us this campaign by doing their little mini video. You know, and obviously we've got Jane that supports us as well with so much, but also she gives away loads of her books every time we do these competitions as well. And obviously we had someone that donated who wants to not be known who they are, but has donated a huge bundle of chocolate that she's sending out for us. Have I forgotten any of the others?
No, I think that's probably, well, I mean, I suppose the list is kind of endless almost,
Yeah.
isn't it?
So yeah, there's loads of people that help us.
Try and do, yeah. But
that's why we started the campaign, really, and we will continue to do it for as long as we can. We just need people to help, really, as in share. You know, just like, share. A lot of people are embarrassed to share things to do with the vulva and the vagina, whether it's, you know, people think that they've got the conditions, they don't want to share it. I totally understand that. But those that are happy to share, then please do share. Even if you just like the Instagram posts or the Facebook or Twitter, it all helps, because the more likes we get, the more reach we get, and the more we're seen. Because you won't believe how many messages and emails that me and Emma get. You know, we're not doctors. We both say that. We're not medical professionals. We're just what people call patient experts, I suppose. But we get so many emails asking for help. And we've helped diagnose, because we've sent them to the doctors with LS and even vulvar cancer early stages, because they've seen our posts that one of you have shared or liked, or sent in your emails, or you put them in your stories and your WhatsApps. And you know, people think, oh, I've got those symptoms. And the amount of people that have had biopsies in the last month alone through looking at our pictures, because, you know, they've decided to look at their vulva for the first time ever, because, you know, but without you sharing them, liking them, you know, all the hard work that me and Emma do behind the scenes of, you know, picking up the ideas, you know, Emma makes most of the pictures and the videos that we do, everything we do, you know, it's not going to help if no one shares them on. So that, we'd like to thank everyone that has done that in the past, and please continue to keep sharing and liking for us. And then hopefully we get a lot more doctors involved and researchers and to help to get more done for this condition, or both conditions really, because even vulva cancer is, you know, it's classed as a rare cancer, so it's not talked about like breast cancer is, checking your breasts. You know, no one says really about checking your vulva. So, you know, we just need to, you know, the more of us that do it, because, you know, I don't think charities are going to be, or celebrities are going to be doing anything anytime soon for both conditions, because they're an embarrassing condition. And I know a lot of celebrities will get trolled for it. So I think if they have been diagnosed with either, they're not going to keep what they would do some other conditions. So it falls to us, those that have the conditions, really, to help get awareness out there.
Yeah, and of course the other reason, of course, we called it the Know Your Vulva campaigns, was to try and encourage people to check their vulva a lot more often. Obviously, like you said earlier, you know, so many people will go and check their breasts, and they don't even think twice about doing it. It's become so normal to do it and to discuss it. But to go and check your vulva, it's still so taboo. People don't want to do it. They're, you know, ashamed, or they're embarrassed to do it. You know, but, you know, the biggest point is that actually, you know, you shouldn't be embarrassed about doing it. You shouldn't be embarrassed about checking your vulva at all, because actually it could potentially save your life, or get you on a correct treatment for whichever condition you've got. You know, the sooner you're on a treatment plan, the better. So again, that's why we called it the Know Your Vulva campaign, to make sure people know what their normal is, to check it, to keep a diary, and, you know, note any changes and go and seek help if they need to seek help. You know, if there's something not right, if they've got that itch, or if they've got that burning sensation, or, you know, even if they are just randomly getting, you know, sort of tears and things, and they don't know why they're getting them, you know, if you're checking your vulva, you're keeping a diary, it's so much easier to take it to a medical professional, just to have it checked over, if need be, a biopsy. But a lot of the time, actually, you find that they don't even need a biopsy. You know, a lot of them can probably do it by sight as well, especially with lichen sclerosus, because of the symptoms. So yeah, I mean, I think that almost sort of sums up why we do the awareness. It is really hard work, isn't it? Especially when you're doing the campaigns as well on top of it. I know for me personally, I get absolutely drained by the time I've finished. You know, because obviously each campaign has 28 images, and that's just the information images. That's without, you know, the promotion posts or the competitions and things like that as well. So it can be absolutely draining to do it, but actually it's so worthwhile, because once you get those messages or those emails come through, you know, people thanking you and saying, you know what, I've seen your images, and because I've seen your images or seen your page, I've now managed to go and get a diagnosis, or I've now managed to pluck up the courage to go and get seen by a medical professional. And it is those moments that really make it worthwhile, isn't it? With the awareness.
Right, should we get on with while we're here as well? Because we had lots of questions sent in. I've seen a couple come up. One's asking, should they see a dermatologist or a gynecologist? That's difficult, isn't it? Because it depends. Some gynecologists are brilliant, others aren't. Some dermatologists. My experience and what we've seen in the groups, quite often it's you have to look, really, research yourself, because you can look in your area and see what vulva specialist you've got in your area, and look at, because you can look now, you can Google doctors and find out what they've done, find out, you know, if they are vulva specialists. Quite often it's normally dermatologists, because obviously it's a skin condition, although it's obviously a gynae area, it's still a skin condition. So do your research really, because there's a long wait to see either, even more so now. So you want to make sure you get the right one, because unfortunately we still hear stories where gynecologists and dermatologists are giving wrong information. So, you know, because they don't know enough about LS. So just do your research. There is a list of doctors, isn't there, on 2 sites?
Yeah, the BSSVD, isn't there, is one of them, so we fight for it. And they're quite highly recommended as well. So I think you can go to, I think it's bssvd.org, and on there they've got a list of specialists in all areas across the whole of the UK. So if you are struggling to find somebody, you know, check out that website. But yeah, as you say, it's I mean, I was under a gynecologist for quite a few years, but actually he discharged me because he said, you know, I haven't needed to operate on you, or, you know, you haven't really had any changes that would warrant, you know, a biopsy for vulvar cancer. And so therefore I was discharged. But then this Sunday, actually, I'm going to see a vulval dermatologist who specialises in skin conditions. So hopefully I might be able to get some more answers as to what's going on with me personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, which is the other one that has it? Is it the Vulvar Pain Society?
Yes,
I
they
think you
got
can go
this.
on their website.
Yeah,
No,
just do your research, really, isn't it? And even if you know, if you're in support groups, quite often other people can recommend a hospital or a doctor, which is why it's good to have a UK version of the group, because then there's more chance. Obviously, our group is 3/4 UK. Any country's welcome, but obviously, if it's you live in the same country, you can recommend doctors and hospitals, because unfortunately, a lot of GPs don't really know enough about LS. Well, myself, I was misdiagnosed for 38 years, so that just, and I saw a number of GPs, and we see it all the time, don't we, in the support groups, the amount of people that were misdiagnosed more than once with thrush, and when they eventually are diagnosed, they look back and realise, oh, I think I've had these symptoms since a child. And it was missed. Some obviously don't go because they're embarrassed, or also using the correct words as well. The amount of people that use the word vagina when they mean vulva. You know, I'm to blame for that as well, because I did when I was very young. I said that I was itchy and it was the vagina area. I think I even said the first time, I think I've got thrush. And he automatically said, yeah, and gave me the cream, didn't look or anything. So make sure you use the right word. Say it's your vulva. If the outside is the itchy and the sore, make sure you describe the area properly, because that can obviously, make you get misdiagnosed. Just make sure that you're clear in the area that, that is causing you problems, because unfortunately, a lot of GPs, they are general, they're not supposed to know everything about everything, but a lot of them won't always refer you. And if they do refer you, they're not sure whether to refer you to a gynecologist or a dermatologist, which is why it's a good idea that, to do your own research and find one yourself. And then it's your right to get referred. So just tell them, I want to be referred to see this sort of doctor, and then it happen. Yeah, so our next one is, someone's asked about emollients as well. They asked about the one that I talked about. This is the one that's we've helped do the competition on, which is actually, it's a spray. I found this in the group, somebody recommended it, so I bought it because I've had obviously radiotherapy, and I've got LS in what's classed as a figure 8, which is all over, also up the bum area as well. I've had radiotherapy burns and damage there, so I need a lot of help, and this spray was a godsend, to be honest, because it's not a great area to get to and look, especially if you're slightly overweight that I am, or got any conditions, back problems, or it's difficult, whereas you can just spray it and it's so much easier. And that you can get at the moment on CD Medical website, and also on Amazon. It's also on our grid. You can also find them on Instagram, and have a look. But there's loads of emollients. You just got to find out which one's for you. Emma tell you what she uses, but I generally use Emulsifying Ointment. I like all the ointments. You can get Hydromol. There's loads. You just got to Google it yourself. Actually, Google emollients, and you'll get a list up. Or even look on Amazon, or speak to your GP. I like it because it's like a thick wax, and you just take a scoop out, and you can mix it with water to make it your own consistency, whether it's runny, thick. I use mine to wash in a shower. I also use it in a bath. I hold it underneath the tap like that, underneath the hot tap for a few minutes, bubbles up, so you get a nice sort of bubble, not a bubble bath, but nearly. It can be slippery, so be careful. I use that. I also use it after I go to the toilet, because it helps, obviously, because urine, we're starting to believe now, has an impact on LS, so that make a difference. But there's loads. You can get them in creams, you can get them in tubs, you can get them in small tubs, large tubs. You know, just look, have a good look around and see. I've got a list of some on my grid as well as in our group. I also use double base gel, which is a moisturiser. There's loads of these. The reason why I've got this is as well is because I use it for my groin and my radiotherapy problems, but that's quite good. You can get a different version of that as well. You know, but there's loads, even silk, and yes, although they're lubricants, they're also good for moisturising, so you can use those, because a lot of GPs sort of don't really tell you about the moisturised side of it. But you know, when you've got a LS especially, you need to moisturise and use your emollients just as much as your steroid, because they make a big difference.
Yeah, I think the key thing with the emollients is making sure it's a zero-based one, isn't it? To make sure that there's no other ingredients and it's, you know, it's as natural as you can get it. I mean, I was using dermal cream for quite some time, and you know, I'll probably still use it as a wash from having flare-up. But I think the new information that's come to light is that that's not good as a moisturiser, is it? For the just the vulva. But there are so many. I mean, you could even go, I think, into your local pharmacy, and some of those will just have their own brand as well. Or you can go see your doctor. Doctors can do prescriptions for them. I know I had mine on prescription for quite a few years, actually. So there's loads of places you can go to buy the emollients. Just make sure, as I say, they are a good zero-based, you know, as natural as you can get it, emollient.
Yeah.
And use it to wash with, as well as moisturise with.
Yeah.
As much as you can during the day, anyway.
You can get them on prescription. Someone's asked, you can get them on prescription. Most things you can. A lot of GPs now probably won't, because of obviously saving money. But we have a chronic condition. There's no cure, unfortunately, for LS at this time. So you can get these type of emollients on prescription, because we've got a chronic condition for life. So you can get them on prescription. Although a lot of them are cheaper than a prescription. If you're paying for a prescription, then it's probably not worth it, because my emollient is about £4 or £5 in most chemists. So you just need to look around, really, because you can get them yourself as well. Their own websites do them, or Amazon, Superdrugs, you know, lots of places will sell these. And until you've got these conditions, you don't realise how many places sell them. Even somewhere like Home Bargains, I believe, sells a double base version. So just have a look around and you'll find some. But just make sure you use them as much as your steroid, because you know you need to use the emollients, because they moisturise, you know, the skin, so it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think I was told actually by a consultant once to, or was it on one of the webinars possibly that we watched? Somebody had said about using it about 14 times a day or something, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah. I think if you use the ointment version, the thicker one, they're saying that you don't necessarily need to continue throughout the day, because the ointment side of it is meant to be better. But it's up to you, obviously. It's your skin. If your skin's dry, then use more. You know, some people only use it once or twice a day. Some people use Vaseline, because that's quite good. I've always got the little tubs of Vaseline in my bag for when I go out. To use that as a barrier, because you know we're starting to realise that urine causes a problem. So you know you need to make sure that you've got something there. So you know Vaseline is one of the best ones that a lot of people use, but you can use your own emollient. Use it thicker rather than thinner. But your cream, you've got to find what works for you. Sometimes it can take a while, but I think the important thing is once you find your routine, you find your emollient, you need to stick to it. So many people just are sort of chasing a cure. There isn't one. You've just got to get in your remission, and what we say by remission is by, you know, you hopefully not knowing you've got a vulva, that you can't, you know, don't feel it as much. You haven't got the stinging or the burning when you go to the toilet, or the itching. Just try and get into your remission and stick to it, because a lot of people will see somebody else in the sites, oh, this works fantastic for me, buy this, and people will go out and buy it and use it, and it burns and stings because it doesn't work for their skin. And then quite often they might blame the steroid for some of the side effects, and when it's not, it's because they keep chopping and changing all their emollients or their creams to try and find the one that works. Find it and just stick to it, because these creams, you know, they all do the same. They've nearly all got the same ingredients in. You just got to find the one that works for you, and then just stick to it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Should we start with
Um,
the steroids next?
yeah, that's fine. Yes. So basically, what we're going to do is try and go through some of the images with you, just to kind of briefly explain, um, a bit more about them, or just really to recap over them. If we start with then the treatment, so yeah, so the main treatment obviously is a topical steroid treatment, which is applied. Some say you can use it twice a day, don't they, actually? And others will say once a day. But actually, if twice a day works, you can use it twice a day to start with. Do that for a month, then go down to, once a day for a month, go down again after that month to every other day. And then eventually you get on the third or fourth month, depending on whether you're using it once a day or twice a day, you'll get onto a 2 week. So you're applying it twice a week, and that should be continuous. So obviously there's a lot of fear around using a steroid cream, because a lot of people, a lot of doctors even will say to people, oh, don't use it for long term because it will thin the skin. And actually it's a complete myth. It's completely fake. It doesn't thin the skin, not on the vulva. As we keep saying, lichen sclerosus will thin the skin, and the steroid will actually reverse the thinning. So a big message from us is always, don't be scared to use your steroid. Use it at least, or use it twice a week for maintenance. It's not going to do any damage. If anything, it's going to help reduce the frequency of a flare-up. Obviously, there's a lot of other factors that go into a flare-up, isn't there? It's not just, what creams, or if you're not using a cream. But using the steroid twice a week can have a lot of good effects, including actually using it can help reduce vulvar cancer developing as well, can't it? So it's not just, it's not just to control the lichen sclerosus. Actually, it's to stop it developing further into vulvar cancer as well. So yeah, the steroid is always a big message for us. And actually, as well, just to point out and just to say, if you're using the emollients with the steroid, always wait half an hour, about 30 minutes, isn't it, between applications. Otherwise, the emollient can actually weaken the steroid, and so therefore the steroid becomes ineffective. There are a lot of steroids out there, so if you're on one and you don't think it's working for you, you can firstly, you can actually go, and if you're on the cream, you can ask for it to be changed to the ointment, because actually a lot of the members of the group will say, actually the ointment's better because there's less in it, it's easier to apply. But if that doesn't work, we, again, on our grids, you'll probably see loads of different information, and even on our website, actually, there's so many different steroid creams that you can try. So, the big message, don't give up on the steroid. Try different ones. If one isn't working for you, try another one, and always seek advice, obviously, regarding the steroid.
Someone just said they've been told to use a steroid twice a day, only for 2 weeks, and we hear that a lot. It's not just for 2 weeks. If you look on the BAD guidelines, which is the British Association of Dermatologists, it's at least a 3-month course. We're not doctors, we know that, and we say that often, but we get all our information from the right websites. We speak to specialists. I speak to a lot of specialists and ask them. I don't just pick it out of the air, what we say. It's proven what works, what doesn't, but it's not 2 weeks. It's all it'll do is it'll help, and then it comes back. And quite often, everyone's LS is different, obviously. If you've got it severe, it will take longer than 3 months. Some people, it won't take as long. It can also burn as well when you put the steroid on. Some people, I did it when I first used it, it burnt the first couple of days. It will do. Not for everyone, but for most. But carry on using it. If it continues to burn, or it's obviously really bad, then speak to your doctor, because you might need, like Emma said, a different strength, because there is loads. You're supposed to start off with the potent one, not 1% one, which some doctors give. It's got to be potent steroid for at least a month every day, and then go down. 2 weeks, we won't give it a chance to work, especially if your doctor's not going to see you. Some doctors will say use for 2 weeks and come back. Then fair enough. Obviously, they want to make sure maybe that it is LS and that it's okay. But if they just give you the cream and say 2 weeks, off you go, don't come back, that is where it all goes wrong. And that is where we've had a member in our support group that was told that. She was told she had LS, given the steroid, 2 weeks, see you later. She was never told about the cancer risk, never told anything. She used the cream for 2 weeks, used it again about a year later because it was itchy a bit and kept the same cream, sort of ignored it for a few years. And then after about 10 years, she started to get a lot worse and noticed that she had an ulcer, went back to the doctor, and then she was diagnosed with vulvar cancer. Because she wasn't told about how, you know, dangerous LS can be if it's left untreated, and not to use a steroid long term. She was just told 2 weeks and off you go. So, you know, it needs to be longer. Obviously, if they're going to see you again, then maybe that's why they said 2 weeks. But you're supposed to be seen 2 weeks to a month after they give you the steroid to check how you're doing, and then go back again every 3 to 6 months. And you're not meant to stop seeing a specialist until you're controlled, and then they can send you back to your GP, but only by saying, if it gets worse, then please refer back. But unfortunately, a lot of GPs aren't saying that. So, you know, it's 2 weeks isn't enough. You know, use it for 2 weeks and then go back and say, look, I've been using it, it's helped or it hasn't, and then go from there. And just, you know, I said grid earlier. Someone asked what grid is. That's the grid is our Instagram page pictures. On there, I've put stuff on there. Also on our website, in my bio, I've put an NHS link up there of a leaflet of how to use a steroid. So you know how much, because a lot of people, again, the doctors will give them the steroid and not tell them where to put it or how much. There's a good information leaflet on there. So have a look at that, and it tells you how much, because again, that can be different. If you've got it in a larger area, you need more steroid than you would do if you've got it in a smaller area. So it's normally about half a fingertip amount. Can be a whole fingertip if it's over the whole vulva and your bum area. And then use it every day. And once Emma says you're in, you know, well, it's getting to the stage where your symptoms are better, then you can knock down to twice a week. But then you can change your steroid and not have a potent steroid. Change it for a stronger one, even though, you know, there's loads of them to choose from, and just use that then for maintenance once or twice a week. And if you do get a flare, then jump back on using your stronger one, which in the UK is quite often Dermavate is one of the popular ones. Then go back onto that again for 2 weeks every day. Once your flare's under control, then go back to doing 2 weeks again.
Yeah, that's it. I did just see somebody actually put about itching. She's been told not to use it if she hasn't got the itching anymore. Still use it even if the symptoms have gone. It's still worth using it twice a week, as I say, because that keeps it under control and stops things sort of getting nasty in the future. And also, actually, was it? I think it might have been the British Association of Dermatologists who did the videos, wasn't there, on how to apply the steroid and how to apply the moisturiser. So it's definitely worth checking out their website and looking for those videos. In fact, actually, I think we might have it on the Facebook awareness page as well. If not, we'll have to probably post those again, just for people to be able to see them. What's the other question there? Can you use steroid in the same area as the Alders cream? Not quite sure what the Alders cream is. The steroid is basically, once you go to your consultant or even your doctor, you need to be asking them where the active areas of the lichen sclerosus is, so you know exactly where you're supposed to be applying them. And that's really, really important. You can take a mirror with you, or you can get them to show you. You can get them to do a diagram and circle the areas that need to have it applied to. So always ask where it needs to be applied, because, you know, that's really, really important. Another question there about steroid, I can see.
Yeah, you don't have to change your steroid. If it's working for you, keep to it. But it's just a lot of people, you know, if it's going to be long-term use, then, you know, and you think you're okay, you've got no symptoms, then just drop down the potency or the frequency. Just, you know, use something, your symptoms will come back. And obviously quite a lot of time you think you haven't got any symptoms. You don't notice, because even myself, when I went, I thought, oh, I'm in remission, I'm doing fine in the early stages, because I had no itching, no problems. And as soon as my dermatologist looked, she goes, you've still got active LS, but I had no idea I had, which is another reason why you should continue using it once or twice a week, because you don't always know you've got symptoms. Quite a lot of symptoms, you know, aren't obvious, not necessarily an itch, you know, like we've put on our pictures. You don't have to have all the symptoms. You don't have to have white areas. You don't have to have itching. You know, you don't have to have all the symptoms. You just have a couple. Even some people don't have any symptoms and still have got LS without knowing. So just you know, just make sure that you're aware. I've put quite a few things on my Instagram and also on my website for the Australian study link, which proves about the study they done for vulvar cancer. You know, don't just take our word for it. We're just people on the internet you don't know, but you know, we put stuff up that is from specialists about the steroid doesn't thin your skin and about the cancer risk. So look at all the stuff that we put up because it proves all the things that we say. And just don't be scared to use it because, you know, like one of the dermatologists has said before, that it's fake news. It's you know, it's years ago that everybody was using steroids. GPs were handing it out for every skin condition. It was just used too much, especially for obviously the likes of eczema, where it's used all over the body, on the face. And the face is not like the vulva. It's different. Yeah. So using obviously a strong potent steroid on your face all the time, you're going to get the side effects that you see. You know, these pictures that go around of really bad withdrawal symptoms of steroids and the thinning of the skin. It's all to do with eczema. It's not LS. You'll notice that LS isn't mentioned on the steroid cream information leaflets. It's not mentioned anywhere. So all the stuff that you see for the bad side effects and are all really for eczema, not for LS. Emma's already emailed the company, obviously that make the steroids, asking them to change the information to put LS on there, and the fat doesn't thin the skin, and you can use it on your vulva, or men can use it on the penis. But you know, it just doesn't happen. So until then, we're sort of shouting out that it doesn't thin the skin. Don't believe a lot of some of the support groups and some of the members are saying that it thins your skin and don't use it and go natural and this, that and the other. You know, at the moment, the steroid is the only thing that's working. And why not? You know, why are we chasing, trying to find something else? Yes, please try and get a cure for it, or even find out, you know, why we have LS, but why try and get, we'll talk about them in a minute, all the other treatments that there are out there that cost thousands of pounds, that there's no decent studies for them. They're 20 or 30 patient studies and that's it. There's no long term to know about it. Whereas, you know, the steroid is cheap, it works, it's safe. So use it. Obviously use other things around it to help because a lot of people will talk about diet. All the specialists mainly say that they've seen no research, nothing about food or diet. But again, we're all different. Some people notice that food does give them a flare. A lot of us, I think it's stress that gives us flares. It can be another type of trauma or other event that causes it, which is why we say to get a diary. Write down what you eat, what you wear, where you go, everything that you do every day for a couple of months. And then just look, if you get a flare, you can look back on the day you got the flare and work out what it is. Because too many people will blame food or blame the steroid for symptoms or reactions when it can be something completely different. So make sure that you take photos as well. We always say to take photos. You know, there's lots of apps that you can use. Volt's one of them, that's the one I use. They secure them on your phone. They're good to use to show your doctor as well, especially if you see one sort of 3 months after you started using your treatment and your LS looks like it's cleared up. They're going to turn around and say you haven't got LS anymore if you haven't had a biopsy. So if you've got photos to prove when you're in a flare what it looks like, that's good to have. It's also good for you to take once a week or once a month, depending on your anxiety for your health, and look back, because I've done it myself. You know, I panic that my cancer's back, and I look back and I think, oh, I've got a sore. Was that bigger last week or smaller? Take a photograph of it and then look at it a week later and think, right, it's got bigger, I need to do something about it. It's got smaller, right, I won't worry about it. It's getting smaller, the steroid's working. So just make sure that you look and compare, so you don't panic yourself and think, was that there, wasn't it there? You know, most people that are diagnosed with LS, the first thing that they say is that they wish they took photos, especially years ago, or looked at it years ago, because we don't look at our vulvas, do we? You know, we examine our breasts now, we're told so much, but we just don't look, or we can't look, or scared to look. Don't be scared, look. Just look at it, and then look again a week later and see if it's changed. Don't compare it to others that you might have seen on any of the, if you Google, because everyone's vulva looks different. It's no different to our faces, we all look different. So don't panic if yours looks bigger, smaller, longer. You know, just look at it so you know what your normal is, and then hopefully when you see a doctor you can say, this isn't my normal, there's something wrong, and then they might actually take it more seriously than just say that you've got thrush. So just make sure that you know that you take pictures and that you're aware of what it looks like in the first place, and you can go in there a bit more, you know, confident with how your vulva looked before, and that lump or that sore or anything isn't normal for you. And if you've been using a steroid regularly, because a lot of people do forget to take it, make sure you write down in your diary that you forgot to take it them few days, and that might think, oh right, that's why I had a flare, because I must have missed a couple of days. So just make sure that you are using your steroid, because at the moment that is the only proven treatment to use. Diet, again, we don't know, so just write this down. Some people say sugar. Some people have done really strict diets, took all the sugar out, and they've obviously seen no difference there, LS. Obviously their health overall is brilliant and better, but it's not improving necessarily their LS symptoms. Stress is quite often mentioned by a lot of people. I think stress was mine.
Yes,
A lot of people think it's trauma as well, don't they, of caused their LS in the first place. But until they find out more, we're not going to know. So just, you know, concentrate on using the steroids. I'll let Emma talk a bit more about the other treatments that are out there that we don't know a lot about yet.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there is a few out there, isn't there, at the minute? I know we were saying earlier about the research projects that we are currently helping with. Obviously, we can't really say too much about them. They are in really early stages, just gathering information from members or people with lichen sclerosus. But the view is that eventually they are going to trial a laser treatment, see if it's more beneficial than the steroid is. At the minute, there are a lot of private clinics out there that are really pushing these treatments, like the PRP treatment as well, the platelet-rich plasma. And okay, maybe, you know, some people might find that actually it does help a little bit. Others will probably find it doesn't help a little bit. It is a very individual thing. But the scary thing about it all is the fact that there isn't enough long-term evidence to say, yes, this actually works for lichen sclerosus. Or that, yes, you know, you can use this treatment and you'll never have to use the steroid again. You know, the results and the evidence just isn't there. So, you know, obviously these treatments, they're not available on the NHS. You do have to go private to have them. They do cost a lot of money to have them. Obviously, we wouldn't say to people, you know, don't try it. But at the same time, you know, we would sort of issue a caution on using these other treatments and going to them, you know, because we don't know what the long-term effects are. You know, maybe they're good for a week, maybe they're good for a month. Years down the line, we have no idea. And I know we get a few people, don't we, asking us to go, oh, you know, can you, you know, mention laser and talk about laser on your awareness pages? And we're like, well, actually, no, we'll say about it, but, you know, we're not going to stand here and say to people, you know, yeah, go do it, go use it, because we don't know. We haven't had any proof at all that these work further down the line or for any longer than, you know, a very short period of time. And when people are spending thousands of pounds on them, you know, it's quite worrying that there isn't any research into them long term. And I know that sort of thing takes a long time, but there isn't really anywhere that's trying to trial them, is there, other than, you know, obviously projects that we're involved in. So alternative treatments that can be got privately, I would say, you know, proceed with caution on those treatments. But obviously there are a lot of other treatments that you can do, that you can have as well, isn't there? There's a lot of other sort of self-help and tips and things that we can give to people to help them. So obviously there is things like having an Epsom salt bath. People can find that helps. Obviously, because it's a salt, it can be, you know, a bit drying. So it is really important to have a good moisturiser to keep the area moisture. There is obviously using peri bottles as well. I know, I think you use one, don't you?
Yeah, actually, if anyone doesn't know what it looks like, it's just a bottle that you fill with water, cool boil water if you can, or just tap water. It's got a long nozzle, and you can just literally put that in, and then when you actually go into the toilet, a lot of people find it useful because while you're going to the toilet, it stops the burning, and obviously it cleans the urine off after.
Yeah, because this is a big problem, isn't it? The urine, you know, especially if you're sore or you know, you've got some tears or you've got some burning or some symptoms there, the last thing you really want to be doing, and for a lot of people, actually, I mean, I know I've been there many times before, where the burning pain when you're trying to have a wee is just absolutely off the scale bad. So actually using a peri bottle, and possibly even using some Vaseline beforehand, can actually help keep the urine off the skin, which makes it a bit easier and a bit more tolerable to go for a wee and not be in too much discomfort. So yeah, the peri bottles are very good. You can also get things such as Instiller Gel, which you can get on prescription from your doctors. That's just a sort of clear numbing gel. Wouldn't advise to use it all the time, but it's great for, you know, if you're really itchy, if you get that persistent itching at night, just to apply some Instiller Gel to numb the area. Because a lot of us find if we're really itchy in the night, actually we tend to scratch, even if we're just, you know, asleep or if we're in a drowsy state. We can scratch and we can make ourselves bleed. So to use an Instiller Gel or a local numbing gel, just to help break that scratch itch cycle at night. We do recommend that as well, don't we? Just trying to think what else there is. What I put on the essential oils. I'll quickly touch on the essential oils. Obviously, I put essential oils onto the tips image, and didn't really think that one through too much until it was pointed out to me. We don't put it on there so that to tell people to apply any sort of essential oil straight to the vulva, because obviously that can be quite dangerous. It's not a good idea to apply any sort of essential oils straight onto the vulva. So the reason we put it on there is because a lot of people use lavender oils, and I think there's quite a few other ones, isn't there? And they'll probably just add a drop or so to the bath. And actually lavender is quite relaxing as well. So if you're really stressed, and the stress, as we know, for a lot of people can cause a flare up, but also, you know, you use some essential oils to help relieve the stress levels, and, you know, just to put a bit in the bath as well, you know, maybe a drop or two, not too much, just to help with the symptoms. So yeah, get that one in quickly. Trying to think what else was on the list now. I should have really written the list down here. But
very individual.
again, on our grids, there is so many different things that people can use, you know, just to help. Antihistamine, I think that's another one that some people will take an antihistamine before bed, again, to break that scratch, that itch cycle, to, you know, make sure that they can get a good night's sleep as well. So antihistamine is a really, really good one as well. And I think really from there, it's probably worth going on to maybe some of the other conditions as well that can be, you know, quite similar to lichen sclerosus. Because obviously, although we primarily do raise awareness for vulvar cancer and lichen sclerosus, there's actually quite a lot of other vulval conditions out there that can cause the same or have the same or very similar symptoms. Lichen planus, I know, being one of them. So again, they have the itching, they have the burning, they have a lot of the symptoms that we have. They have the fusing as well. And with lichen planus, actually the biggest difference is that that can go internally. So it's not just an external, whereas lichen sclerosus is external. It doesn't go inside at all, it doesn't go into the vagina at all. Lichen planus can, and obviously there is a form of lichen planus called erosive lichen planus that can actually travel, you know, even up as far as the womb and the ovaries. And again, even with the mouth, if you have it orally, you know, it can go to the ears, the nose. It can cause a lot of problems. So when you have those itchings, or, you know, if you see our images with all of our symptoms on them, it's worth going to seek medical professional opinions on it, because it might not be lichen sclerosus, it could be lichen planus, which they are very, very similar, but there is some distinct differences between the two. And then, of course, obviously there is vaginal atrophy as well, which we raise awareness for with Jane, with me and my menopausal vagina. The symptoms of that can also be so similar to lichen sclerosus. So it could be that actually, you know, some people have got vaginal atrophy. It's also possible that you could have both, or you could even have all three, actually. You could have lichen sclerosus and lichen planus and vaginal atrophy. With vaginal atrophy, you need a local estrogen cream just to sort of get the estrogen levels back into, and the moisture back into the vulval and vaginal area. I think if you check out Jane's page, Me and My Menopausal Vagina, she has a lot of information on there as well about that. With the lichen planus, again, that is a steroid treatment. So if you are diagnosed with it, if you're worried about it, the treatment is actually the same really for lichen planus and lichen sclerosus as well. So I just really wanted to sort of get those conditions in there as well. That,
I think that's why a lot of doctors prefer to have a biopsy, don't they? Because if
yeah,
LS isn't obvious, you haven't got everything. You know, if you don't tick all the boxes for LS, then a lot of doctors will have, will want a biopsy to, to make sure it is they're treating for it. Obviously, LS and lichen planus have the same treatment anyway with steroids, but obviously if you've only got vaginal atrophy, steroids are going to make it worse. But if you've got both, then it won't. So that's again why sometimes you do need a biopsy. Not always. Again, it depends on what doctor you go to. Some will do a biopsy anyway. Others will wait until they see if the steroid works or not. Others will only biopsy if there's a particular area that doesn't look right or hasn't responded to treatment, steroid treatment. So yeah, so it depends really whether they do a biopsy. But do you want to talk about what happens with a biopsy? We've got 4 minutes left.
are we? Oh, okay, right. We'll quickly just go and biopsy then. Yeah, it's okay. So as Claire's obviously already said, they don't always biopsy. Some can just look at the vulva and see the symptoms and know that it's lichen sclerosus or know that it's lichen planus. And I know there's been a few people again that have had, if they're children, because obviously lichen sclerosus can affect children as well. It isn't just a postmenopausal or a perimenopausal age range that get it. And there's a lot of people actually that are quite worried with their children and whether their children would have to go through a biopsy. And actually, in a lot of cases, they don't. They won't really do a biopsy on children. A lot of the time, it can be just diagnosed by sight. Obviously, we've got quite a few self-help tips if you've had a biopsy. A lot of people find that actually they're not too uncomfortable after them. Some people find they are, and therefore, obviously there are certain things you can do to help alleviate the problems, or the pain or the discomfort after a biopsy. And yeah, as I say, most people I know a lot of people are really concerned about going to the consultants or, being referred because they think they're going to have a biopsy. It's not always the case. And if they biopsy, in a lot of cases, it is just because you need, or they believe you could have a suspicious area and they just want to rule out anything, like vulvar cancer.
Yeah, because sometimes the biopsies are wrong, aren't they? If they take them in the wrong place, or if you've used steroid already for too long beforehand, sometimes it can be inconclusive. So I think that's why, some doctors say that they don't biopsy. If it's obviously looking like LS, then they won't bother. So yeah, it depends on what doctor you has. But, if the steroid's working, then they take it that you have LS.
Yeah, that's it. And one other thing quickly, actually, is to say, we're running out of time, aren't we? I can't see the time on mine, actually. I have no idea
2 minutes.
how long. Okay, I just want to quickly touch on borax. Because obviously there's a lot of people that get quite desperate for a cure or for something other than steroid that will help, and there's a lot of groups out there that are saying about, use borax or soak in borax or drink borax. It's an acid, it's a known skin irritant, it's got its own health issues, and actually it's not going to do you any good. And I know the British Skin Foundation and the British Association of Dermatologists all say, don't use it. They've put warnings on their website. So I just wanted to quickly get in that if anybody says to you, oh, try borax, please don't do it. It is dangerous to try and do it, to use it. So, absolutely stay.
And the reason why we don't allow it to be recommended in our group is them reasons, but not just that. It's the fact that it just became where it got to the stage where those that were using it were jumping on other members and just being quite aggressive about it, and they were telling them not to use the steroid, it thins the skin, giving wrong information, fake information, making them use borax instead of obviously steroids, which someone did do for over a year. And then we had somebody who I won't name, but she emailed Emma to say that because of our group, they stopped using steroids, started using borax, and now has cancer, and was going to sue the group. Whether that was true or not, we don't know. But at that point, it got to the stage where there were so many arguments about borax in the group. They weren't being nice about it. There's no proven anything that it does work or help. Just baths and salt water do. So we decided to stop using it in our group anyway. Just to stop the arguing. You can't buy it in this country either, so God knows what you're buying. sometimes. You know, people getting it off of eBay. You know, even prescribed medicine is getting, you know, tainted with stuff and isn't the right product. So how do you know that they're even putting borax in their bath? Or they could be buying the wrong brand. So it was just not worth the hassle, really. And there's so many things that do help and do work. You know, just, you know, try different things that help you, but don't stop the steroid, you know, and just make sure you do your own research and just look. You know, I know that obviously a lot of research isn't done on LS, but just look yourself at what works and what helps, and just don't believe somebody in a group. You know, we don't just tell you things without researching and looking ourselves. So just make sure that, you know, if you do find something, you know, that helps you, just look into it, speak to your doctor and make sure that it's safe to use. But please just continue using your steroid, because that is the only proven link. And I've seen quite a few studies done on it. Quite a few researchers have contacted me saying they've done different things, and steroid always comes out top. So they're thinking, why try and find another treatment when there's nothing wrong with the steroid? Yes, it doesn't work for everybody. There is a small minority that it doesn't work for, and there are other options. So just speak to your doctor for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, there's more than one group. So if you're happy to sit in borax and drink it, then you do that. You just go to another group. You know, we're all adults, so you choose what you want to do. But our group, you know, we don't want a group with borax in. You know, we're entitled to that, and a lot of our members are happy with that. So, you know, I left all the other groups because I didn't want that. So, you know, do the same. You know, you just choose which group you want to be in. You know, we speak to specialist doctors. You know, we make sure all our stuff is scientific and everything is, you know, all proper stuff that we, you know, that is told to use. So, you know, but again, you know, it's up to you what you use. But our group isn't for that, and we're entitled to have one group at least that isn't classed as just natural. You know, everything's natural that we use, but they seem to think that, you know, they don't want to use a steroid. They can be quite anti-steroid, some groups, but again, that's up to them. But our group isn't. So if you want to be in our group, then obviously join it. All the stuff is on our pictures, in our website, on our bio as well. We're going to run out of time soon. So if, you know, anything you want to know, just message either of us. Maybe if you want this done again, comment on it, because Emma's going to put this on the grid. Anyone that missed the beginning can watch it again. Add your comments to it. If you want us to do this again, then, you know, that's fine. We'll give it another go, and things that we missed. But like I say, look on my website, because I've got all the links to do with steroid from specialists, not just from Karen on the internet. They're from proper specialists and doctors that have looked into steroid, looked into other treatments. So always have a look for it.
Yeah. Okay, so what we'll probably do then is leave it there then. So if anybody does want a different live, or if there's a specific topic that anybody would like us to discuss, obviously please just get in touch, message us. If you need advice, if you need help, we're always here, you know, 24/7. As soon as we see the message, we will reply to you. So please don't ever feel like you have to be alone and you're dealing with this alone. We are here to help. It's why we set up the awareness. And on that one, I think we'll say goodbye.
Yes, thank you all for joining, and maybe we'll do it again if you want to hear what we've got to say, any more tips and helpful links we can give you. You know, if you think you've got LS or you have got LS, then on both of our bios, we've got the website on with the links to all the support groups. Make sure you answer all 4 questions, and make sure if you don't recommend borax, then please don't join our group. Just find one of the others that are happy to discuss it.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Thank you all for watching, and maybe we'll see you again some point if we're brave enough to do this again. We'll see. Right. Thank you, Claire, and
yes,
I'll speak to you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.